Hey, HR friends, welcome back. So we made it to the last day of the 3-4 emotional 6.5 day sequence. And when we get to the end, we don't even talk about a full day. This is just a 12-hour sequence. Now, if you remember in the previous 24 hours, we had some of the calmer time here as far as polarity moments go in this entire sequence. All right. And you can see it. The only thing we were concerned with was the micro mental polarity, and there was a single polarity happening in the mental frequencies, and you can see that gap right here. Now, when we get into this 12-hour sequence before we switch here, you can see that drops off. That's good news, okay? That is actually great news because that's one less thing we have to worry about. Now, you can see though that this is elevating a little bit right here. This is because we have an emotional polarity starting to kick. So when mental or emotional polarities are starting to affect us, what they're doing is they're messing with our emotional and mental rhythms. It agitates us whether we know it's happening or not. So those days where we feel a little short, or when we hear things wrong, or we want to get upset, or we decide we want to argue instead of listen and cooperate, these are the moments that are happening that we don't see. It's happening from inside of us, and it's just something that's trying to fool us into not staying calm and not staying cooperative. Very, very important. Now, the good news is this next 12 hours in the grand scheme of things is going to be pretty simple compared to what we've been doing here the last few transitions. You can see that the first person is pretty much laid out. And yes, there is some elevation in the third person here. And yes, in especially around the world, but in the United States specifically, we've had a ton of drama in the third person perspective, from all kinds of presidential election talk, an attempted assassination. So there have been some things here going on at the third person level that have definitely been concerning for a lot of people. Now, just remember, third person, these are our bigger philosophical beliefs, the things that we invest in as individuals. Don't overinvest in this. And the reason is it's just stressing you out. We are going to have solutions coming forward in the future where we don't argue and we actually work together and we make things better. But right now, all we're doing is arguing. And those arguments have actually kind of accelerated here recently. So again, take a deep breath, take a step back, and try to get yourself prepared. All right. Now, when we look at the 12 hours in the combined, you can see when this first 12 hours starts in the beginning of it, we peak up here to a 6, but then it kind of drops off and we really stay below a 4 until it switches over. Now, just remember, this is like the metaphorical tide, is the way I'm going to describe this. The 3-4 is a feminine sequence. It's a reverse sequence. This means we're at a metaphorical low tide at the end of this 12 hours. When the 3-5 starts, the water or the current is going to start to flow back in again. So for a brief moment, we're going to kind of be stagnant. It's going to be still. And then the energy is going to reverse, and it's going to take a little time for our bodies to get used to that. And it's this polarity flip right here when the energy reverses that it can really cause some agitation, both in the larger picture and in the smaller picture. Again, good news, this isn't super strong. All right, so let's move down here now and let's just briefly talk about objectives. So when we get to this 6.5 day sequence, this is when I like to review the space-time objective. This is a mathematical construct. Every single person that's born into this simulated reality is born a son or a daughter. And then what happens is we mature into father and mothers, and these are the team captains, are supposed to be the team leaders that are supposed to keep our families, our communities together, and we're supposed to be focusing on the other part of the space-time objective. That's balancing our team routine. So each teammate is expected to balance a routine that contributes to the family, the individual, the world, and the national level on a daily basis. Now, if you are not contributing to all four of these levels on a daily basis, there are going to be issues that you should be concerned about. See, these are the governing frequencies, and we've separated these governing frequencies into the quadrants of your body. We have the upper left quadrant of your body, the upper right quadrant of the body, the lower left quadrant of the body, and the lower right quadrant of the body. If you are having trouble getting along with a teammate or a team leader, or if you are not balancing your routine with the family, the individual, the world, or the nation, you will be out of balance with these frequencies. And over time, this imbalance really starts to hurt or accumulate within your body, and it's going to do damage. It's called destructive interference. If you're out of frequency, it literally takes your energy away, it shortens your life, and it ensures that things are going to be unpleasant for you with future states of disease. That's what happens at the individual level. Now, because we are also in a space time reality that is interconnected at every level, If we have lots and lots of people within a nation or within a community that are imbalanced, not only is it going to hurt their body, but they're going to see this reflected in their geographic region, meaning they're going to have catastrophic weather events that affect them. This is proportional. Our choices matter both at the individual and collective level. Now, here's the great news. Every individual that decides to commit to the team, and to commit to the team, what you do is you commit to getting along, communicating clearly, and having a team focus where you're not only willing to put in the time to balance your routine and to contribute to all four levels, but you're also willing to become more of a leadership role in this and helping other people understand this importance. You see, we have a lot of families right now that actually kind of get along, but that doesn't mean they get along and they talk about how to balance their routines. You can get along with a family and not fight with one another, but not also care that they're not doing all the things they should be doing to ensure that our world is better for all of us. You see? So that's really what's been happening here is we've had a lot of individual and family over focus. We've been investing too much in this and we haven't been contributing at the national and the world level. And that is literally why right now we're seeing all of this division across the world in all the different nations. That is also how our weather events are connected to this. The more disorganized, the more unbalanced we are, the greater the unbalance we're going to see both in our environment and in our communities. It's that simple. So, the great news is this: the second you commit to this and the second you balance your routine, and you decide to continue to do that day in and day out, you will be in perfect alignment with these frequencies. When you are in alignment with these frequencies, it causes constructive interference. Constructive interference is actually going to amplify your body's ability to stay young and healthy and to heal disease states that have already started to set in. You can literally stop diseases, you can reverse diseases, but you can't if you're not willing to commit to the team and commit to the team objective. All right. It's a pretty good explanation of how this works here, both at the individual level and at the collective level. Let's get down here now and let's talk about this next 12 hours. Okay. Now, you can really see it. This is why I like to show the 12-hour because you can see this flip flop that's about to happen here. All right. So we're going to hit bottom tide and you can see it peaks in third person. Then all of a sudden, third person's going to drop off when the next sequence starts and first person's going to jump up. Now, it's super important that we stay as calm as possible here. Like I talked about up there, you can see 4 all the way up to a 7 for the first couple hours in this 12-hour sequence. You're going to want to stay calm. And most of this is going to be coming from the third person level, but there is actually quite a bit as well at the first person. So this last 12 hours before we flop back over, you're definitely going to want to be on your A game here. Okay. Don't make this worse for yourself. And definitely, we want to stay as calm as possible because when we do this big reversal that's about to happen, it always gets a little spicy here for us, at least for the next 36 hours. That's about how long it takes to get used to that new direction, that new emotional flow that's coming, the electromagnetics. Now, in addition to this peak right here, we're going to talk now about these alignments. Okay. So there's some pretty strong alignments coming here. All right. And this is the exclamation point that we a lot of times experience. Now, these are the EPs right here. We're going to actually talk about these two first. They're going to be hitting simultaneously. So when we get to the end of an emotional sequence, it'll always pair up with a macro P sequence, and that's what we're seeing. These are the 3 hours, 3 hour alignments that are happening. Now, alignments. This is when two hands of the clock align together, and what it's doing is it's amplifying a frequency, and that frequency is connected to a specific relationship. What that means is if you happen to be out of balance with a specific teammate, or you happen to be out of balance with your routine, with something that you're supposed to be contributing to, but you're not, during these alignments, it's going to be very noticeable for you. If you are out of frequency, things are not going to go smoothly, and you're not going to feel as well as you'd like to. It's that simple. So these are really the easiest places for us to show you how this interactive biofeedback system works. And these two are pretty strong and they're going to affect the left side of the body. We've got left lower side and we've got left upper side here that we're talking about during these alignments. Now, this is the longest alignment that's going to happen here. This is the MP. The MP is 9.25 hours long. This is a pretty strong alignment. Now, this M frequency, the small m, that's a 7.5 day frequency. This P frequency is a 12-hour frequency. So this is much stronger on this side. it's more likely that you're going to feel upper right quadrant during this 9.5 hours, but you definitely could feel on the left side as well. And when this one ends, it's going to continue on the left side. Okay. So upper quadrant stuff in this next 12 hours, very, very likely. Okay, so those are the alignments that we're going to talk about here. Now, I did mention this, but I'm going to remind for anybody that's new here, we've got all 24 offsets. Okay, so these are the time zone offsets, and we do this for people that don't have good internet. So what you'd do is you'd come down here, you'd locate your time zone offset. It sits for 10 seconds. You take a picture that aligns these times so you have it with your peaks if you've got great internet all day. Health3Connected.com. We've got a live feed on our homepage. It actually runs a time bar through this so you can see exactly where we are in the sequence. I say this every time, but it's important. I'm going to say it again. Every single time that there is conflict going on around me, or I'm having conflict with somebody in my life specifically, I will reference my phone, I will open it up, and I want to know if we're in one of these agitation moments. And 9 times out of 10, that's exactly what's happening. This is so silly. It's so simple. When you have this technological advantage, you can overcome this unseen pattern of chaos. When you don't have the technological advantage and you're trying to fly blind, it is very, very difficult because this is very deceiving. It makes you feel, and when you feel something, you really that's real, right? When we feel it, that's real to us. Truth is, this is a trick. It's an illusion. It is trying to agitate us so that we don't get along. That's how important it is to know about that. All right, so let's get down here and talk about testing sequence quick, all right? Now, when we talk about testing sequence, what we really want to do first is talk about where the strongest or the macro frequencies are positioned in this next 12 hours. And you can see they're pretty stacked up again here on the left side. We've got 6 on the left and we've got 2 on the right. Now, the 2 that are on the right are still pretty strong. This M is a year frequency. That's the strongest. This small m is a 7.5 day frequency. That's the second strongest. Is it possible stuff is going to go on the right side? Yeah, it's possible. But there are mostly left-sided alignments up here. We've got left lower quadrant, left upper quadrant, and we've got left upper quadrant, but also a little bit of right upper quadrant. It is definitely possible here, but if I was in practice, I would expect people to feel more on the left for certain. Now, when we look at this, you can see it too. A testing sequence at a 4 or above, we start to get concerned about that. That's a lot of testing load on the body. Left is pretty strong. Right is under a 4, left lower quadrant above a 4, right lower quadrant below a 4. Pretty simple stuff here. We're going to be back in the next 12 hours to help you through when we get to the 3.5. Don't you worry, this won't be long before you hear from me again. As always, we'll end on a little review here. This is the electromagnetics for the rest of 2024. There is no way that you won't be prepared. You can come down here if you have to travel. You've got the starting date, you've got the ending date, and pretty easy to read. If it gets above a 4 and you're going to be somewhere and it's staying real elevated, you would want to know that. If you're going to go to an outdoor concert or you're going to go somewhere where there's a lot of people gathering, there has been a lot of chaos that has been unloading lately. So knowing when these moments are very, very important. We're just trying to empower you. Same thing. We've been reaching out. I said this last night. We've been reaching out to NASA and NOAA to help them understand how this is also affecting our weather patterns. And I specifically said, when we hit August 6th, the wheels are coming off again. The weather's going to ramp up. Social unrest is going to ramp up. Wait and see. And I don't want this to happen. We are literally trying to contact people and show them what's coming. Here it is right here. Here's the 8.6. You see how it's building up right here? And then what's going to happen is we're going to flip over into the next one. It's going to show you the other side of this. So we're going to have a good 5 days of some real chaotic events and some very strong weather events. That's what's coming. That's how easy it is to understand these graphs. If you're out or you want to be out and about, I would pick a time when things are relatively calm, like that. That would be the best time to be out and about and interacting. When it's really, really strong, that's going to be a little bit tougher. Ain't no doubt about it. All right, that's good for today. We'll see you in the next 12 hours. Talk to you then.